March 20th. Happy birthday, Paul.
Happy birthday, Paul.
Leah's anniversary. Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary.
Whose anniversary?
Larry and Joan will go.
My mother's yard site. Does anybody want to say? I said it's my mother's yard site. You want to say anything? My email address.
So on whatever thing we have the evening program,
Guys,
they're
guys.
publishing.
So, from the continuity,
Yep.
Okay.
and then also,
We have to stand up.
you know, with the new whole go back to the beginning.
Yeah, whatever it says. We'll follow you, Dave.
Oh, that's cool.
Umanaimu, Shevet Yachimikam Yachad. Little softer. Hine matovu, Umanaimu, Shevet Yachimikam Yachad. Little louder now. Hine matovu, Umanaimu, Shevet Yachimikam Yachad. Little louder. Hine matovu, Umanaimu, Shevet Yachimikam Yachad. Up to the rafters. Hine matovu, Umanaimu, Shevet Yachimikam Yachad. It's Shabbat. Let's do a little speed and a little joy. Matovu, Umanaimu, Shevet Yachimikam Yachad. Full of joy, everyone. Hine matovu, Umanaimu, Shevet Yachimikam Yachad. Last time. Hine matovu, Umanaimu, Shevet Yachimikam Yachad. So even though the holiday of Purim is officially concluded, here at Anshe Emeth it lasts a few more days until our family Megillah reading and family Megillah reading and carnival Sunday morning. And Purim is a time we're supposed to find joy in the world, despite all the flaws that exist in this world. So I want to invite you this Shabbat Eve, even as we think about what's happening in the world around us, to find a way to joy. We have our band here, we have our choir here. Let us find a way to joy, because finding our way to joy also helps us find our way to love. And when we find our way to love, it's hard to hate one another. And living with love in our hearts and joy in our hearts helps us create the world that is Shabbat. It helps us create that for the entirety of the world. So take a moment now to find a place in your heart for that joy and that love that Shabbat is supposed to bring.
Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
My name is Ina Horn, and it is my pleasure to welcome you to Anshe Emeth Memorial Temple. It's so wonderful to see so many of you here in the sanctuary, and for all of you watching on screens, wherever you may be, we feel you here, and we hope you feel present and connected as well. We're happy to have our adult choir, along with our band in person here in the sanctuary this evening, and we look forward to beautiful music and voices lifting our spirits and leading us in song. Now let us feel the warmth of Shabbat as we call Sarah Levine to the bima to light the Shabbat candles and lead us in the blessings that may be found on pages 2 and 3 in your prayer books. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold
So may we, by our lives, give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu l'hadlik ner shel Shabbat. Blessed are you, Adonai our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the light of Shabbat.
We continue with Lachadodi on pages 20 and 21. Shalom. We continue on page 26 with Chatzi Kaddish.
Yitkadal veyitkadash shemei Rabbah. Amen. Be'alma divrach hirutei be'amlit malchutei
B'chayechon v'yom echad u'v'chayet kol Beit Yisrael Ba'gala u'bizman kariv
v'imru
Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah Mevorach Le'olam Olam Me'amaya Yitbarach
Yitbarach ve'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitromam ve'yitnasei ve'yitadar ve'yitaleh ve'yithalal shemei dekudesha
Rihu
le'ela min kol birchata ve'shirata
Ushbechatai Nechemata Na'amiran Be'alma
v'imru
We rise in either body or spirit for the Baruch Hu on page 28. Bottom of 31, we continue together. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai Hama'ariv Aravi. Please be seated.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך, והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובמלאכתך בדרך ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בעיניך, וכתבתם על מזוזות ביתך ובשעריך, למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותיי, והייתם קדושים לאלוהיכם. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים, להיות לכם לאלוהים. אני אדוני אלוהיכם, אדוני אלוהיכם, אמן.
At the bottom of page 39. In a world torn by violence and pain, a world far from wholeness and peace, give us the courage to say, Adonai, there is one God in heaven and earth. The high heavens declare your glory. May earth reveal your justice and love. From bondage in Egypt we were delivered. At Sinai we bound ourselves to your way. Inspired by prophets and instructed by sages, time and again we overcame oppressive forces. Though our failings are many and our faults are great, it has been our glory to bear witness to our God, keeping alive in dark ages your vision of a world redeemed. Let us continue to work for the day when the nations will be one and at peace. Then shall we rejoice as Israel did, singing on the shores of the sea.
Tehillah
Let there be love and understanding among us. Let peace and friendship be our shelter from life's storms. Adonai, help us to walk with good companions, to live with hope in our hearts and eternity in our thoughts, that we may lie down in peace and rise up waiting to do your will.
אתה אדוני אלוהינו ואלוהי אבותינו ואמותינו, אלוהי אברהם, אלוהי יצחק ואלוהי יעקב, אלוהי שרה, אלוהי רבקה, אלוהי רחל ואלוהי לאה, האל הגדול, הגיבור והנורא, אל עליון, גומר חסדים טובים וקונה הכל, וזוכר חסדי אבות לאמהות, ומביא גאולה לבני בניהם, למען שמו באהבה, מלך עוזר ומושיע ומגן. ברוך אתה אדוני, מגן אברהם בעזרת שרה. אתה גיבור לעולם אדוני, מחיה הכל אתה רב להושיע, משיב הרוח ומוריד הגשם, מקלקל החיים בחסד, מחיה הכל ברחמים רבים, סומך נופלים ורופא חולים, ומתיר אסורים, ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר, מלחמות וגבורות, ומדומה לך, מלך ממית ומקיים, ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני, מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני, האל הקדוש.
We continue our silent Amidah with the words on the page or the words of our own hearts or some combination through page 63. And when you're ready, you may be seated. Shabbat Shalom. It's really wonderful to be here. I feel like I haven't been here in a long time because I haven't been here in a long time. And I'm really delighted to be with you on this very special Shabbat. Because on March 18th, 1922, 100 years ago today, the 12-year-old Judith Kaplan celebrated her bat mitzvah. She was not nearly as excited about the ceremony as her father was, and she was worried that her peers would make fun of her. Perhaps these feelings sound familiar from your own experience or a loved one's. Young Judith's bat mitzvah was a little different from the bat mitzvahs here at Anshe Emeth. She didn't stand on the bima, but on the floor, and she was a very respectable distance from the scroll of the Torah. She chanted words of Torah only after her father had formally read them, and she read from a Chumash, a book with the words of Torah in it, and not from the scroll. And rather than being thrilled, her grandparents were shocked, and other congregants and family members in attendance were too. See, Judith's bat mitzvah, as far as we know, was the first bat mitzvah. While the coming of age ritual for 13-year-old boys had existed since the Middle Ages, Judith Kaplan did something no one in her community had ever seen a girl do before. And while her father was very excited, most everyone else was not. The historical details of that day are murky. Different accounts from different people tell somewhat different stories, and no perspectives from outside Judith's family are preserved as far as I could find them. But this is what seems to have happened. Judith didn't get to ascend the bima and read from the scroll, the traditional aliyah to the Torah. She wasn't literally an olah, one who ascends. But standing on the floor of the sanctuary at the Society for the Advancement of Judaism in Manhattan, Judith helped us ascend to holiness, the holiness that comes from creating a more equal world. In this week's parashah, the word olah has a very different meaning. An olah is a burnt offering. I imagine many of us have heard this term many times in translations of our Torah. But what exactly distinguishes a burnt offering from other types of sacrifices? We often forget that most of the sacrifices were eaten, either by the priests or by those who had brought them. But unlike other sacrifices, no one, not even a priest, got to eat of an olah. The olah was entirely sacrificed to God. It is the offering from which no human being derived a material benefit. Say what you will about animal sacrifice. As a vegetarian, I'm not itching to reinstate it, but the symbolism is powerful. Taking something you've committed to and letting it go in order to lift it up and dedicate that loss to a sacred purpose. The sacrifice is called an olah because it literally rises up in smoke and fire to God. But in order for the olah to ascend to holiness, we need to lose something first. Judith emerged from the experience alive, thank God, but not without, as Simone Manuel puts it, the cuts and bruises that come from shattering the glass ceiling. What Judith's father failed to slaughter before bringing her to the altar of progress were the norms and expectations that governed how women should perform their gender. The docility, the self-effacement, the existence in the background that Judith's community and her family expected from a girl approaching adulthood. Judith helped us ascend to holiness, ascend closer to the world as God hopes we will help create it. but not without the emotional scars to show for it. So the accounts seem. When I hear the story about Judith's congregation, I am filled with pride to be part of a Jewish community that does uphold the equality of girls and women, and which joyfully celebrates with families as their daughters reach the age of spiritual, if not anything else, majority. Let us not forget, though, that in 1922, many Jews and many Americans believed that full gender equality was almost achieved. After all, the 19th Amendment had given women the right to vote only 2 years earlier. We were almost done. We know, though, that the fight for gender justice is not over. And as clear as it is that there are still steps to be taken to ensure the full equality of women and girls, and there are so many of them, it is even clearer that those most threatened by the current gender order are the trans, non-binary, and gender non-conforming members of our Jewish, American, and global communities. In the world such as it is right now, it's been difficult to follow everything going on in the news. And so I won't fault you if you haven't heard about the wave of state legislation specifically targeting LGBTQ and especially trans youth that has been proposed or passed in the last few weeks. One such bill recently passed through the Florida legislature and prohibits discussion and instruction on sexual orientation and gender identity in public school classrooms. It's not yet clear exactly what this bill prohibits, and some experts think the vagueness might be the point. But it's clear that teachers will no longer be able to support their LGBTQ students as they did before. A rule like that was in play when I was in school. And I don't know if the policy was spoken or unspoken, but what I do know is how it hurt to look in my teacher's eyes as a closeted 8th grader when they couldn't take a stance or even educate as a slur was hurled in my direction. My heart aches for the students who can no longer look to their teachers as sources of support, validation, and care. But if that bill were not nefarious enough, let us look to Texas, where the governor has published an order that classifies gender-affirming medical care for trans youth as child abuse, medical care that quite often literally saves their lives. This action, too, is ambiguous in its real legal ramifications. But if the goal was to scare providers away from caring for the needs of trans youth, it has already worked. Hospitals in Texas have already stopped providing gender-affirming care for trans kids and teens for fear of being sued. Meanwhile, families whose support keeps their kids alive and thriving are preparing dossiers of documents in case the Department of Family and Protective Services comes to investigate. Sitting here in New Jersey, or in New York, where I was when I was writing this, these actions in Texas and Florida might feel very far away. But as more and more states propose and pass bills that target trans youth, and I've only, unfortunately, scratched the surface, the threat to the mental health of trans kids and teens across the country continues to grow in its severity. As I see it, Judith's grandparents' displeasure when they heard her chant words of Torah and the current attack on LGBTQ youth are different manifestations with very different levels of severity of what is ultimately one problem: our boundedness to the norms and expectations of gender identity and performance, and our personal investments in the social realities those norms create, in our commitments to our daughters' beauty and tenderness, to our sons' competitivity and holding back of all tears. In order to ascend to holiness, we need to lose something first. We need to slaughter our commitments long held to what it means to do gender correctly. on this 100th anniversary of the bat mitzvah of Judith Kaplan, later the accomplished musicologist Judith Kaplan Eisenstein, how can we ensure that we continue to elevate toward holiness? How can we continue eternally to edge closer and closer to God's vision of a world where each and every one of us is created equally in the divine image? Most of us are already on this journey, and let's all take today as an opportunity to push ourselves one step closer. On this special day, I'd like to suggest that for a moment, we put ourselves not in the place of Judith's father, Rabbi Mordechai Kaplan, who orchestrated this momentous occasion in his family and for the entire Jewish world, but rather in the place of the congregants who were shocked and dismayed to see a girl chanting Torah, even from the Chumash, away from the Bima, and consider what commitments we still hold, that the time has come to shed, as slowly as we need to, but with whatever haste we can muster. I hope that the world will be a better place, a more equal place, a place with a more expansive vision of gender on March 18th, 2122. I hope that when Jews celebrate the bicentennial of the bat mitzvah, they look back to our time and are proud of how much closer they have come to God's vision of holiness, how much they have elevated their lives and the lives of their communities toward true gender equality and justice. But I hope, too, that they will be proud of us for how we are working to realize that vision, for our ability to let go of our commitments to what a man is, to what a woman is, to what gender is, in the service of God's vision that all of us were created in a divine image whose gender is boundless. On this sacred anniversary, let's ask ourselves some questions. How do we continue to constrain the genders of our children, our nascent adults, at home, in the classroom, in public? What emotionality do we still deride in boys? And what self-effacing commitment to others do we still encourage in girls? What dreams do we have for our children that are tied to the gender we assume they'll espouse? How can we continue to grow in our understanding of what it means to be a gendered being? Will we sacrifice the holiness of our human community on the altar of our own comfort? Or will we elevate each other and draw closer to God, even when it's a little uncomfortable? On March 18th, 2122, how will our community remember us? Will they be as grateful to us as we are to Judith for lifting each other closer to God's vision of a holy world?
Childhood was for fantasies, for nursery rhymes and toys. The world was much too busy to understand small girls and boys. As I grew up, I came to learn that life was not a game, that heroes were just people that we called another name, and the old shall dream dreams, and the youth shall see visions, and our hopes shall rise up to the sky. pursue the challenge. Time is going fast, and the old shall dream dreams, and the youth shall see visions, and our hope shall rise up to the sky. We must live for today, we must build for tomorrow. Give us time, give us strength, give us life. Today's the day I take my stand, the future's mine to hold. Commitments that I make today are dreams from days of old. I have to make the way for generations come and go. I have to teach them what I've learned so they will come to know that the old shall dream dreams, and the youth shall see visions, and our hope shall rise up to the sky. We must live for today, we must build for tomorrow. Give us time, give us strength, give us life. Give us time, give us strength, give us life. Give us life.
Shabbat Shalom once again. Just a few announcements before we conclude our service this evening. Tomorrow morning at 10:45, both in person and Zoom, we're having our next rabbinic forum where we'll be welcoming in Sarah Blaine, who's the RAC New Jersey organizer. We're going to be talking about the segregation lawsuit that's going through the Supreme Court of New Jersey right now with school segregation, and also talking about reparations and how Jews should approach reparations. On Sunday at 10 a.m., we'll have our family Megillah reading, which will be followed by our Purim Carnival. And then, on March 27th, which is a lot sooner than I actually realized it was, the following Sunday, we're having our next caregiver symposium where we're welcoming in Joel Nowak from Cancer ABCs and Austin Morale from New Jersey Interfaith Cancer Care Center, who are going to be talking about resilience and how to thrive while also fighting cancer. So we've got a very powerful lineup for the month of March, which is not even close to over. At the conclusion of our service, we're going to have an oneg to go outside waiting for everybody. We'll do Kiddush Motzi here in the sanctuary so people at home can join us. And then very, very soon in April, we're going to start having onegs in person, assuming that the world continues on the direction it's going in terms of COVID. So we'll see. And lastly, I just want to say how wonderful it is to have the choir mixed with the band tonight in person. It is so good to hear your voices live, and it's just one of those joys to be back here doing. So a little semblance of normalcy coming back into the fold. On this Shabbat Eve, as we join together as one congregation to celebrate creation, the joy of life and living, we turn our thoughts to those in our community for whom life has become precarious because of health or hospitalization. O God of healing, in our hearts we name those who are facing illness and pain. We join our prayers together with the prayers of those who love them. Give them renewed comfort and courage. Strengthen them the healing powers you place within us all. Guide the hands and hearts of those who are entrusted with their care, and may the knowledge of your love and ours give added hope to them and their families. May they find even greater strength because our prayers are linked to theirs. Mishaberach avotenu v'imotenu hu yavarech et hacholim, u'refuat hanefesh u'refuat haguf, hashta'a b'ga'ala v'zman kariv v'nomar. Amen. May the one who blessed our ancestors bless those in need of healing. May God swiftly send them a complete renewal of body and spirit, as together we say, Amen. We continue now on page 282 as we rise in either body or spirit for Elena.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כהם, וגורלנו ככל המונם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא.
Page 285. Let the time not be distant, O God, when all shall turn to you in love, when corruption and evil shall give way to integrity and goodness, when superstition shall no longer enslave the mind, nor idolatry blind the eye. Only all created in your image become one in spirit and one in friendship, forever united in your service. Then shall your realm be established on earth, and the word of your prophet fulfilled. Adonai will reign forever and ever.
Amen.
light of life is a finite flame. Like the Shabbat candles, life is kindled, it burns, it glows, it is radiant with warmth and beauty. But soon it fades, its substance is consumed, and it is no more. In light we see, in light we are seen. The flames dance in our lives are full. But as night follows day, the candle of our life burns down in gutters. There is an end to the flames we see no more and are no more seen. Yet we do not despair, for we are more than a memory slowly fading into the darkness. With our lives we give life. Something of us can never die. We move in the eternal cycle of darkness and death, of light and life. With hearts that ache and are saddened, we name now those whom death has recently taken from us, those whose families are observing the Shloshim. We remember Michelle Pollock, wife of Andrew, mother of Logan and Evan, daughter of Arlene and Steve of blessed memory, sister of Laura and Ira, aunt of Jared and Ryan, cousins of Mark and Angie, Leah and Josh. Remember Paula Selko, wife of Maurice, mother of David and Jessica, grandmother of Max, sister of Joyce and Rod, and Beth, aunt of Ellie, and sister-in-law of Joel. We remember Rona Schmidt, aunt of Sarah and Dan, great aunt of Jahan and Mira. We remember Bob Stone, husband of Eleanor of blessed memory, father of Gwen and Elliot and Heather, grandfather of Abby and Evan, Gila and Joshua. We remember Elizabeth King, wife of Donald of blessed memory, sister of Richard and Bill, mother of Susan and Barbara, Henry and Tracy, grandmother of Eli and Noah, Samuel, Anna Rosa, and Michael. We remember Hillary Costin, wife of Chris and mother of Caitlin and Tyler, sister of Jeffrey of blessed memory and Richard, and niece of Iris, Kislin and Bernard of blessed memory. And on this Shabbat, we also recall those dear ones who died at this season in years past, whose names we record with love in our service booklet this evening. Their names are forever bound to our hearts and are permanently inscribed throughout our building. If you're joining us tonight online to say Kaddish for a loved one, please either say their names aloud at home or type their names into the chat either on YouTube, Facebook, or our Templars streaming site so that we can lift up the names of your loved ones with you. And if you are here in person to say Kaddish for a loved one, please say their names as I look around the sanctuary.
Lena Axel.
Zichronam livracha. May all their names and memories only be for a blessing. I invite all the mourners of Abel to rise for Kaddish Tome, Mourner's Kaddish, on page 294. Kadal, V'Kadash, Shemei Rabbah, V'Alma Divrach Rotei, V'Amlich Malchutei, V'Chaye Chon, V'Yomechon, V'Chayed Kol Beit Yisrael, V'Agalah V'Zman Kariv V'Yimru, Amen. Yehei Shemei Rabbah Mevarach Le'olam L'Olmei Almaya, Yitbarach V'Yishtabach V'Yitpa'ar V'Yitromam V'Yitnaseh, V'Yitadar V'Yitaleh V'Yitalal Shemid Kudeshah V'Yikud Le'ela Min Kol Birchata V'Shirata Tush B'Chata V'Nechmata Da'amiran B'Alma V'Yimru, Amen. Yehei Shalama Rabba Min Shemaya V'Chaim Aleinu V'Al Kol Yisrael V'Yimru, Amen. Osei Shalom B'Mromav hu ya'aseh shalom, aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael, v'imru. Amen. May the source of peace bestow peace to all who mourn. May we be a source of comfort to all who are bereaved, as we say, Amen.
We close our service this evening with the singing of Am Yisrael Chai on page 353. Please rise. Last time, Amen, Amen, Amen Yisrael Chai, Amen, Amen, Amen Yisrael Chai, Amen, Amen, Amen Yisrael Chai, Amen, Amen, Amen Yisrael Chai. Vayhi erev, vayhi boker, yom hashishi. Vaychulu hashamayim v'haaretz v'chol tzevam, v'echal Elohim bayom hashvi melachto asher asa, vayishbod bayom hashvi mikol melachto asher asa, vayivarech Elohim et yom hashvi, vayikadesh oto, ki bo Shabbat mikol melachto, asher bara Elohim לעשות. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kiddushanu b'mitzvotav, v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat roksho, v'yahavanu
we join together for Motzi. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Did fine.
I'm sorry.
I stop apologizing. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yes. Hello. Happy anniversary.
I caught the first one.
Yeah, I got it. What? No, there's a Purim carnival. Thank you. No choir Sunday. Purim carnival.